Chapter 47. When Guojutao, Lu Wang and psychokinesis were sneaking towards the mountain ridge. In the city, Immerse had already killed thousands of zombies. 1,000 bloodthirsty corpse beheading knives formed a huge black tornado. All the zombies that entered the range of the black tornado would be instantly torn to pieces. They would not be turned into blood-red slime. In just a few minutes he had already obtained more than 3,000 evolution points. Immerse sighed in his heart. There were more people in the big city. However, there were fewer mutated zombies here. This made him a little depressed. Seeing that the zombies nearby were getting fewer and fewer, he began to walk forward. And as he walked forward, within a diameter of 1,400 meters, the throwing knives easily passed through all kinds of buildings. These buildings began to collapse. On the mountain ridge 2 kilometers away, Guojutao and the other two could not see the people in the city. They only saw the buildings like dominoes collapsing one after another. Smoke and dust began to slowly rise, covering the city and the nearby hills. The three of them were all shocked. What was this thing that could cause such great destruction? Guojutao could not help but cover his mouth with his hand, and exclaimed in a very feminine voice, "Oh my God!" The other two turned their heads and looked at Guojutao. Guojutao said, "I've seen this situation before. Once, in the neighborhood by the dam, the mysterious strong person attacked and the entire neighborhood collapsed like this. Could it be the mysterious strong person is here?" Psychokinesis was reminded by him and also nodded. "Indeed, I saw it at that time." When Lu Wang heard this, he was also happy. If it's really the mysterious strong person, then that's great. If the mysterious strong person was here, saving more than 1,000 people would not be a problem at all. At this time in the city, Immerse pushed 3 kilometers horizontally. He had already obtained more than 30,000 evolution points. It was enough for him to peacefully sign in for a month. However, he was still not satisfied. He continued to push. After a while he came to an abandoned school. He recognized it from the stone carving outside the gate that was already covered by hay. Chong, and City Foreign Language School. Immerse's heart slightly moved. He had signed in so many places, but he had never signed in at a foreign language school. System sign in. The system replied instantly. Sign in successful. Sign in location. Abandoned Foreign Languages College. Sign in reward. Foreign language proficiency. Immerse muttered in his heart. What's the use of being proficient in foreign languages in the apocalypse? He carefully checked the skill description in his mind. Foreign language proficiency. Proficiency in any language on Earth, including zombies and mutated beasts. Yes, that's a good idea, Immerse said in a low voice. After mastering this skill, one would be able to communicate with any zombie or mutant beast. Immerse wasn't willing to mix with zombies and mutant beasts. However, if he wanted to increase his strength, hunting zombies in the wilderness would be a normal thing to do. These zombies and mutant beasts lived in the wilderness all year round. He must have obtained a lot of useful information. Therefore, it was necessary to communicate with them frequently. Just like now. Immerse used his telekinesis and brought over a zombie that looked to be about 12 or 13 years old. A trace of fear flashed in the child's eyes. Obviously, it was a mutated zombie. He had seen the human destroying the city from afar, including everything in the city. Fear had already arisen in his heart. Such a human was not someone he could contend with. Therefore, he had no intention of going over at all. However, for some reason his body suddenly flew into the air. He quickly flew towards the human. A moment later he arrived in front of the human. Moreover, at this moment he was still suspended in the air by an invisible force. His grayish-white eyes were filled with incomparable terror. Immerse opened his mouth and let out a roar from his throat. This was the roar that zombies used to communicate. "Tell me, where are the mutated zombies in this city hiding?" Immerse said. At this moment the young zombie's eyes widened. He looked at the human in front of him in disbelief. This human could actually communicate with zombies. How was this possible? In his understanding, after humans transformed into zombies, they had long lost all human characteristics. Even the language system had long since ceased to exist. And after zombies mutated into mutated zombies, they would develop a unique language system. This language system relied on the pitch and length of the voice. There were also various sounds such as snoring, hissing, and other sounds mixed together to form. It was impossible for humans to understand, let alone speak. After all, to humans this language was purely the roar of a beast. But now, the roar of the human in front of him actually connected into a complete sentence. This was simply a fantasy story. Immorse saw that the zombie did not speak, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. He used his telekinesis. The zombie youth was directly sent flying by the huge force. He hit the wall. The wall caved in. Then he used his telekinesis again. In the surrounding ruins, 4 steel bars as thick as fingers flew into the air. Ding 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 ding, 4 sounds. The 4 steel bars penetrated the zombie's hands and feet. They directly nailed him to the wall. At the same time, the 5th steel bar also flew up. It pointed directly at the zombie's eyebrows. It hovered less than a centimeter away from the zombie's eyebrows. Seeing this, the zombie was immediately terrified. Mutated zombies were not afraid of death. But this did not mean that they were not afraid. The human in front of him did not even move a finger. He was nailed to the wall and almost killed. Such a mysterious power was not something that a low-level mutated zombie like him could understand. He quickly made a few roars similar to pleading in his throat. I'll talk. They are in the temple under the ancient tower. Puff, as soon as the voice fell. The steel bar had already pierced the zombie's head. 5 steel bars nailed him to the wall on the 3rd floor. This young zombie, although not so ferocious, seemed to be very pitiful. But Immorse would not have any pity for him. If this young zombie was stronger than Immorse, he would be able to kill Immorse. It would also not hesitate to pounce on Immorse. This was nature. If humans pitied them instead, it was purely a brain problem. Immorse was a little excited in his heart. After searching for so long, he still could not find those mutated zombies. Now, after an in-depth communication with this young zombie, it was easy to find out the whereabouts of the mutated zombies. It seemed that he still had to subdue the zombies. And through this he also realized a truth: how important it was to master a foreign language. Then, at a speed of 140 meters per second, he headed toward the tallest ancient tower in the city. After passing by many ancient buildings, Immorse also saw it. This was Chang'an City. Chang'an, the ancient capital of the 13 dynasties. There were also many ancient buildings. Ming city walls, bell and drum towers, big wild goose tower, and so on. Now, whether modern or ancient buildings, they were all covered by weeds. It was December and the cold wind was whistling. Immorse's gaze passed over the withered yellow weeds that were almost as tall as a person. Looking at the big wild goose tower. Looking from a distance, the big wild goose tower had been covered with withered vines and plants. It was full of vicissitudes of time. Chapter 48. It was December and the cold wind was howling. The big wild goose tower stood in the cold wind. It was like an old man who had experienced thousands of years of vicissitudes, overlooking the overgrown Chang'an city. Immorse came to a place more than 1,000 meters below the big wild goose tower. When he arrived here, the surrounding zombies were already densely packed. They were squeezing and bumping into each other. Ayo, roar, hiss, all kinds of creepy noises came out of the zombies' throats. They bared their fangs and brandished their claws as they pounced on Immorse. Immorse was not afraid at all. Instead, the corner of his mouth revealed a smile. They were here to give him evolution points. Immediately, he used all his telekinesis to activate the 1,000 flying knives and swept towards the thousands of zombies around him. Chi. The black tornado roared and spun at an extremely fast speed. After the black tornado swept through, all the buildings collapsed one after another. The surrounding zombies were almost instantly torn into pieces by the thousands of high-speed flying knives. Flesh and blood splattered and broken limbs flew. Where the black tornado swept through, only a 1,400-meter wide blood-red trace was left. At the same time, on the highest 7th floor of the big wild goose tower, a level 5 strong mutated zombie and more than a dozen level 4 and level 3 strong mutated zombies were looking down at the black tornado that was quickly sweeping over 1,000 meters away. Looking at the 1,400-meter wide blood-red trace left behind by the black tornado. These strong mutated zombies, their gray-white eyes were all shocked. Had humans become so strong to this extent? As strong mutated zombies, they thought that their strength was already the peak existence on Earth. They were planning to gather a large number of zombies after a while. Attack the base hundreds of kilometers away. But they did not expect that a human would be one step ahead of them and attack their nest. One must know that this human was single-handedly armed. Based on the strength he had shown so far, none of the strong mutated zombies here could fight him alone. Leader, what should we do? A strong mutated zombie's eyes were filled with fear, and a trembling hiss came out from his throat. The level 5 strong mutated zombie heard this and frowned slightly. Another strong mutated zombie next to him spoke. Leader, I've heard from the zombies in other territories that this is called psychokinesis. The leader turned his head and roared from his throat. Psychokinesis. That strong variant zombie quickly explained. That's right. It's a very powerful human. I don't know what it is exactly, but from the strength this human has displayed, it should be psychokinesis. Another strong mutant zombie heard the words and roared. If he's that strong, wouldn't we be dead today? That strong variant zombie roared and said, Hey. Psychokinesis is powerful, but it has a fatal weakness. The group of strong mutant zombies heard this and looked at the strong mutant zombie. I've heard that psychokinesis is very strong, but the body is very weak. It's as weak as a normal human. So as long as we can get close to him, we can easily kill him. When the leader heard this, anger and hatred appeared in his grayish-white eyes. Then lead him to the blood pool in the north square. The group of strong mutant zombies heard this and frowned. Leader, do we really want to lead him to the blood pool? The leader let out a low roar. This human is too strong. Only the blood pool can let us get close to him. Yes. The group of zombies replied in unison. At the same time, Immorse continued to walk towards the Wild Goose Tower. Under the Wild Goose Tower was the Great Mercy Temple. At this time, more than 50 zombies rushed out from the overgrown Great Mercy Temple. These zombies were all strong variant zombies. It must be known that strong variant zombies were equivalent to hunters. Killing a strong variant zombie would give at least 1,000 evolution points. These 50 strong variant zombies were equivalent to at least 50,000 evolution points. Thinking of this, Immorse took a step forward. With one step he covered 100 meters and rushed towards the 50 strong variant zombies. This was out of Immorse's expectations. After those strong variant zombies came out from the Great Mercy Temple, they did not rush towards Immorse. Instead they followed the collapsed wall of the temple and headed north. Immorse was slightly startled. They were scared away. That was a bit too cowardly. However, with Immorse's understanding of zombies, this was not their style. Could it be a trap? However, if there is a trap, then there is a trap. In the face of an absolute difference in strength, all schemes were just a joke. Thinking of this, he followed the wall and chased north. When the 50 strong variant zombies ran to the overgrown square in the north, they suddenly disappeared. Even Immorse's telekinesis could not detect them. With a thought, the blood demon's pupil opened. In the next moment he saw the square was shrouded in corpse energy. The blood-red corpse energy seemed to be solidifying. Immorse's heart trembled. Too careless. Just now when he was in the mood to kill, he did not use the blood demon's pupil to observe the surroundings. The blood demon's pupil did not consume his telekinesis and stamina. However, if he used the blood demon's pupil for a long time, Immorse would feel pain in his eyes and his mind would be slightly dazed. Therefore, under normal circumstances he would not use it continuously. He did not expect to be surrounded by corpse energy because of this carelessness. However, it did not matter. With his level 7 psychokinesis, level 5 hunter sky splitter dragon spear, genetic martial arts and other trump cards, even if his body was reset he could easily escape. Therefore, this thick corpse energy not only did not make him panic. On the contrary, it made him feel a little excited. There should be a very strong existence here. If he killed it, he should be able to obtain a lot of evolution points. He used the blood demon's pupil to observe the surroundings. However, he did not see any strong existences around him. Even those ordinary zombies did not dare to take a step forward when they came to the edge of the square. Since there was not a single zombie but there was such a thick corpse energy, this could only mean one thing. Immorse looked at the ground under his feet. At this moment, the ground collapsed. Immorse's reaction was extremely fast. On the surface of his body, fingernail-sized crocodile scales instantly appeared and covered his entire body. At the same time, he used his telekinesis to support himself on the ground and levitated. However, the telekinesis flying speed was too slow. On the ground under him, There was already a huge pit with a diameter of more than 50 meters. Under the sunlight it could be seen clearly. In this huge pit, there was a huge blood pool with a diameter of more than 50 meters. This blood pool was filled with a dense blood energy. Under the sunlight, it was suffused with a scarlet blood mist. Ordinary people would probably be scared out of their wits just by looking at it from the side. At this moment, Immorse was floating in the middle of this blood pool. Chapter 49. Immorse floated above the huge blood pool with a diameter of 50 meters. He suddenly felt that something was wrong. He hurriedly used his telekinesis to support his body and flew to the side. At this time, blood bubbles began to appear in the blood pool. Soon the entire blood pool was boiling. The blood waves rolled and splashed everywhere. In the rolling blood waves, broken limbs and bodies were mixed from time to time. There were even skulls that were constantly washed out of the pool by the rolling blood waves. Immorse cursed in his heart. What the hell was this place? At this moment, from the churning pool of blood, a bloody arm stretched out. This arm, as thin as a dry branch, quickly stretched out. Soon it reached more than 20 meters long. It directly grabbed Immorse's arm. Immorse's telekinesis moved. A bloodthirsty corpse beheading knife swept past in an instant. Gee, there was a soft sound. The bloody arm had been cut off. With a plop it fell into the blood pool. But almost at the same time, there were hundreds of bloody arms next to him. They grabbed Immorse tightly. After they grabbed Immorse, hundreds of needle-like arms grew on each arm and drilled straight into Immorse's body. However, the surface of Immorse's body was a layer of hard scales. These needle-like arms couldn't drill in at all. Those arms seemed to be angry. They directly turned into thousands of finger-thick arms. They tied Immorse up like a dumpling. Then with a plop they pulled him into the blood pool. Immorse only felt a strong smell of blood going straight into his nose. Entering the blood pool there were more arms around him. Suddenly, finger-thick arms grew out of all the arms, wrapping Immorse up in 3 layers inside and 3 layers outside. At the same time, on the cave walls around the blood pool, the strong mutated zombies that had escaped before jumped out one after another. They roared excitedly in their throats. We caught him. This psychokinesis is really powerful. But his body is very fragile. Destroy him. As long as it's trapped, its body will be no different from that of a normal human being. These zombies roared excitedly while rushing towards Immorse. Plop, plop, they also jumped into the blood pool. A strong mutant zombie's sharp blade directly attacked Immorse. However, when its sharp claws scratched Immorse's body, Immorse was stunned. Crack, crack, crack. An ear-piercing sound was heard. Its sharp claws only left a string of sparks on Immorse's scales. That strong mutant zombie was stunned. At the same time, other strong mutant zombies also encountered the same situation. It didn't matter if they used their claws or their teeth to bite. None of them could penetrate Immorse's skin. How is this possible? Isn't it said that psychokinesis's physical body is very fragile? Who said that just now? Come forward. At this moment, a soft roar sounded in their ears. Psychokinesis is all brittle? Who told you that? In the next moment, a claw shadow instantly appeared. Chi. All the strong mutant zombies' bodies were instantly split into 2 halves. With just one claw, all more than 50 strong mutant zombies were instantly killed without exception. Before they died, all the strong mutant zombies had the same last thought. Who the hell said that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile? Moreover, this was not the end. Immorse's claw not only cut all the strong mutant zombies in half. Moreover, the invisible force released by this claw actually split the entire blood pool into 2. In the blood pool, the hundreds and thousands of arms were also cut off one by one. Then this chi force extended forward for another 300 meters. On the walls of the blood pool, 5 huge cracks were cut open by the sharp invisible force. These 5 huge cracks were 5 claw marks. Each claw mark extended for more than 300 meters. It extended all the way to the bottom of 2 buildings in the distance. The 2 buildings suddenly collapsed with a loud bang. The blood in the blood pool suddenly flowed quickly from the 5 claw marks. On the 7th floor of the big wild goose tower. When the zombie leader saw this scene, his eyes flashed with fear. This human was actually so strong? With a casual wave of his hand, 5 huge cracks more than 300 meters long appeared on the ground. With such terrifying strength, he was probably already a level 7 or even a level 8 hunter. That was an existence that he could not compete with at all. Also, didn't they say that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile? But did this guy look fragile at all? It was because he listened to this nonsense that the blood pool was destroyed in the end. One had to know that the blood pool was the foundation of their strong mutant zombies. Thinking of this, the level 5 strong mutant zombie suddenly turned his head and looked at the subordinate next to him. That subordinate was the zombie who said that psychokinesis's physical body was very fragile. Seeing the leader looking directly at him, his body suddenly trembled. Leader, I don't know, I also heard it from the zombies in other territories. Bang, before he finished speaking, his chest was hit. He flew more than 100 meters out of the tower. Only then did he fall. He smashed through a building and smashed into a wall. The leader turned his head and looked at the blood pool that had been divided into 2 in the north square. Fortunately, this blood pool has the ability to recover. It will recover soon. However, a moment later he realized that he was wrong. The blood pool had no intention of recovering at all. The pool of blood quickly flowed along the 5 claw marks. The broken limbs and body parts in the blood pool also sank to the bottom of the pool, motionless. When the leader saw this, his body suddenly trembled. His grayish-white pupils were filled with fear. The blood pool is dead. The other strong mutant zombies next to him heard the leader's words. Their bodies trembled. The blood pool was dead? How was this possible? After mutant zombies reached level 10, they had reached the limit of mutation. They could not advance any further. And the reason why they could surpass the limit and become strong mutant zombies, it was because they absorbed the blood water in the blood pool. In their eyes, the blood water was like holy water. It could provide them with an endless supply of energy. Since the blood pool was discovered more than 10 years ago, the blood pool had always been alive. And the blood pool's recovery ability was extremely strong. No matter what kind of damage it suffered, it could basically repair itself in a very short period of time. But now the blood pool was dead. This made all the strong mutant zombies feel an inexplicable panic in their hearts. Without the blood pool, how could they continue to become stronger in the future? Without the blood pool, how could they get energy? Without the blood pool, how could they create more strong mutant zombies? But the fact proved that they thought too much. Because at this time, thousands of black flying knives had appeared around the big wild goose tower. Then chi. These 1,000 flying knives instantly attacked all the strong mutant zombies on the tower. The flying knives came from all directions. These strong mutant zombies had no way to escape. Almost instantly they were torn to pieces by these 1,000 flying knives. And the wall of the 7th floor of the big wild goose tower collapsed after being pierced by these 1,000 flying knives. They were all torn to pieces and would never have to worry about the blood pool again. However, when Immerse's flying knife pierced the zombie leader's head, the zombie leader let out a roar. Roar. Immerse understood the meaning of the roar. Lowly human, the king will not let you go. Chapter 50. Only 6 floors remained of the 7 floors of the big wild goose tower. Whether it was hunters or strong mutated zombies. In front of the level 7 psychokinesis Immerse, they were just ants that he could casually destroy. Generally speaking, a level 1 psychokinesis could kill hunters that were 2 or 3 levels higher. Because psychokinesis could control throwing knives to attack. Hunters could not get close at all. Although the level of psychokinesis was very difficult to increase. But with every increase in level, the strength would increase tremendously. So as long as he reached level 5 psychokinesis, he could kill a level 1 hunter. Now, Immerse was already level 7 psychokinesis. Under the control of throwing knives, even level 7 hunters and level 7 strong mutated zombies could be killed with a flip of his hand. At the same time, in the pool of blood that had already dried up. In Immerse's mind, notifications continuously sounded. Frowny face killed level 3 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 3,000. Killed level 2 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 2,000. Killed level 4 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 4,000. The 50 strong mutated zombies gave him 120,000 evolution points. The last level 5 strong mutated zombie gave him 5,000 evolution points. So far his total evolution points had exceeded 150,000. With so many evolution points, it was enough for him to stay at home for 5 months and get a designated reward. Immorse already had the idea of returning to the base and staying there for 5 months. At that time, 5 months should be enough to raise his telekinesis to level 8. Level 8 psychokinesis should be able to kill any hunters and strong mutated zombies. But thinking about it again, it was rare for him to come out. There were more mutated zombies at the C9 base. As the saying goes, saving a life is better than building a 7-floor pagoda. Why not go there and save the 1,000 people at the same time? Killing 2 birds with 1 stone. But Immorse had some doubts in his heart. Before the zombie leader died, it said, "King will not let you go." That king must be an even stronger existence. How strong would it be? Level 6 strong mutated zombie? Or even the stronger level 7, level 8 or level 10? Or even stronger than level 10 mutated zombies? The more Immorse thought about it, the more dangerous the wilderness was. After returning this time, he'd better stay in the base obediently and sign in properly to level up. With that thought in mind, he casually scanned his surroundings. With the help of the blood demon's eyes, he found that the corpse chi here had faded a little, but it did not disappear. Something was wrong. Generally speaking, as long as the zombie was killed, the corpse chi would disappear. Even if there was a blood pool here, the blood in the pool had already dried up. The corpse chi should have disappeared a long time ago. However, the corpse chi in the air didn't dissipate much. Thinking of this, Immorse's eyes searched carefully. Finally, at the bottom of the blood pool, broken limbs and broken bodies were flipped over. He found something strange. On the ground of the blood pool, arms as thick as fingers extended in all directions. If one took a closer look, the shape of these finger-thick arms gave off the feeling that they were the blood vessels of a human body. He used the bloodthirsty zombie slayer to gently pry open an arm as thick as a finger. In that arm, other than a small bone and a small amount of muscle, the rest was a large amount of blood. And when he cut off this arm, he could clearly feel that the other arms had shrunk a little. He cut off several more arms in a row. All the small arms around him had obviously shrunk a lot. At a certain moment, these small arms that looked like blood vessels suddenly moved like hundreds and thousands of small snakes. They quickly crawled back to the ground. Immorse used the bloodthirsty zombie slayer to dig 1/2 meter into the ground. He didn't see the shadows of those small arms at all. He released the Titan dragon claw again. With a slight force, he drew a huge gully about 5 meters deep in the ground. However, he still didn't find those small arms. It was as if they had never existed. Immorse frowned. Something was strange. He thought of the zombie leader's words before he died. He secretly guessed that this blood pool and the small arms that looked like blood vessels might be related to the king that the zombie spoke of. In short, he had to leave this place as soon as possible. Thinking of this, he tapped his feet lightly and jumped to the ground. However, just as he jumped to the ground, he felt that the sky suddenly darkened. It was only noon and it was a sunny day. Immorse couldn't help but look up. With this look, a faint smile couldn't help but appear on his face. He saw that the sky above his head was dark. They were all mutated bats. Every mutated bat had a pair of small blood-red eyes. There was no skin on their bodies and their muscles were exposed. They were covered in blood-red mucus. And each bat had a wingspan of 2 meters. Tens of thousands of mutated bats attacked Immorse. The mutated bat king in the lead had a wingspan of 3 meters. It opened its huge mouth, revealing 4 sharp fangs. It roared, hiss. All the mutated bats heard this order and spread their wings. They bared their fangs and roared. 100,000 roars gathered at the same time. 100,000 mutated bats also gathered together. Like a blood-red torrent, they rushed towards Immorse. At the same time, on a hill 2 kilometers away, Lu Wang, Guojutao and Psychokinesis were also watching all of this. Because a large number of buildings in Chong and city had collapsed. Smoke and dust filled the air. They could only see a blurry figure. At this time, the figure was facing a huge swarm of bats. Guojutao couldn't help but feel a little nervous. Although he knew that this person was likely to be a mysterious expert, the number of bats was too large. And the mysterious expert had been fighting with psychokinesis for so long. The consumption of psychokinesis should also be very large. So now, could he still deal with this huge swarm of bats? In the next moment, Immorse gave them the answer. The tens of thousands of mutated bats attacked Immorse. However, just when they were more than 500 meters away from Immorse, bang, almost instantly all the bats, including the mutated Bat King, Their heads all exploded into a cloud of blood mist. His body exploded and scattered in all directions. From afar, the dark cloud that was attacking Immerse instantly turned into a cloud of blood. Then this cloud of blood gradually drifted with the wind. Seeing this scene, the three of them were all stunned on the spot. They were stunned for a full half a minute. Only then did they realize what had happened. The three of them all made a gurgling sound from their throats. Gujutao's eyes were full of horror. In his mind he recalled more than 10 years ago. That night more than 10 years ago. The mysterious expert motionless, those zombies' heads exploded one after another. And now this scene appeared again. But today the heads of these mutated bats exploded more quickly than those of the zombies more than 10 years ago. The heads of those zombies exploded one after another like dumplings being dropped into a pot. And these mutated bats' heads exploded at the same time. It was as if a huge firework had been set off. The fireworks directly covered the sky near the big wild goose tower. The sky was also dyed blood red. Even stronger. The mysterious expert's psychokinesis seemed to be stronger than 10 days ago when the zombies besieged the city. And psychokinesis next to him was 10 times or 100 times more shocked than Gujutao. Chapter 51. Psychokinesis was 10 times, no, 100 times stronger than the shock in Gujutao's heart. As a level 2 psychokinesis, he had tried to use his telekinesis to blow up the heads of zombies. But after blowing up the heads of 100 zombies, he felt dizzy and almost fainted on the spot. That was when he understood. This move seemed pretentious, but it was not practical at all. He used up too much telekinesis, but the results were mediocre. With this effort, he could control 12 throwing knives and easily kill 100 zombies. So from then on he never used this move again. But now, this mysterious elite only needed an instant to blow up the heads of 100,000 mutated bats. How strong was his telekinesis? It must be known that these mutated bats were level 5 mutated beasts. Their heads were 100 times harder than normal zombies. It was 100 times harder to blow up their heads. In the end, they were blown up by the mysterious elite and turned into a cloud of blood. This was not something he could imagine. He estimated that the mysterious elite's telekinesis had reached level 9, maybe even level 10. On the other hand, Lu Wang's eyes flickered. His cheeks were red with excitement. In the next moment he jumped down the hill and rushed towards Chang'an City. "Where are you going?" Gujutao hurriedly shouted. Lu Wang did not turn his head. A voice came from behind him. "Go and ask the mysterious elite. No matter what, you must ask the mysterious elite." This time he made a great decision. He would ask the mysterious elite to rescue the 1,000 people with him at all costs. At the same time, under the big wild goose tower, Immerse retracted his telekinesis. With his current telekinesis, blowing up the heads of 100,000 mutated bats was a piece of cake. Although it used up a bit of his telekinesis, it was not even 1/10 of his powerful telekinesis. Moreover, he still had 4 brain cell recovery potions in his backpack. Even if his telekinesis was used up, as long as he took the recovery potion, his telekinesis would recover in 5 minutes. At this time, notifications kept coming in his mind. Evolution points plus 50, evolution points plus 50, evolution points plus 50. The 100,000 mutated bats gave him 5 million evolution points. At this time his evolution points had reached 15 million. After a rough calculation, every night it would consume 1,000 evolution points. This many evolution points was enough for him to use. In any case, it was enough for many, many years. It seemed that when he returned he would have to hide in the base and sign in properly. He would sign in until he was invincible and could do whatever he wanted no matter where he went. Then he would come out and crush everything. At this moment, a voice suddenly came from afar. "Mysterious expert, please come with me to save those 1,000 people. I beg you." Immerse hesitated for a moment. In truth, he had enough evolution points for more than 10 years, so he did not want to take the risk and go to such a distant place. The king, that the zombie mentioned, always made him feel a little uneasy. Furthermore, those arms that looked like blood vessels in the blood pool had suddenly retracted into the ground and could no longer be found. This also made him feel uneasy. At this moment the system's voice sounded. "After collecting 10 million evolution points, the system can be upgraded again." Immerse. System, what's the meaning of this? Why did he have to say it now of all times? However, since the system had said so, he would go and take a look in order to obtain 10 million evolution points. It would not be too late to retreat at that time. In any case, with his speed, there were not many people, zombies or mutated beasts that could catch up to him. In the distance, the voice came again. Mysterious expert, I beg you. My parents are still there. If you don't go, it will be difficult for us to save them. Even if we save them, it will be difficult to safely escort them to base C1. I beg you. After saying that, a sound came from afar. Bang, bang, bang. Although there was smoke and dust, the sound could be clearly heard. It was Lu Wang who was kowtowing in Immerse's direction. The sound of kowtowing could be heard through the smoke and dust more than 300 meters away. Could be seen how heavy the kowtow was. Immerse sighed and said, "A man's life is worth more than gold. The first is to kneel to heaven and earth, the second is to kneel to parents. Other than that, no one has the right to make you kneel. Get up." Lu Wang, who was in the distance, heard this voice. His body suddenly trembled. Then, the pleading expression in his eyes turned into excitement. This was the first time he heard the mysterious expert's response. As long as the mysterious expert responded, there would be a chance. He was so excited that his voice trembled. "So you agree?" However, there was no response from the dust in the distance. Lu Wang was stunned. He looked disappointed. Listening to the mysterious expert's words, did he agree or not? At this moment, Guojutao also came over. Seeing Lu Wang, a level 4 hunter, kneeling on the ground, he couldn't help but be surprised. After all, in the base, every hunter had an extremely high status. As a level 4 hunter, Lu Wang's status was even higher than that of an ordinary hunter. At this moment, he was kneeling on the street full of ruins. How could he not be surprised? However, after thinking for a while, he knew the reason. He asked softly, "Did the mysterious expert agree?" Lu Wang was stunned for a moment, then nodded. But then he shook his head. Guojutao asked softly, "What do you mean?" Lu Wang repeated the situation just now. Hearing this, Guojutao's eyes flashed with ecstasy. He reached out and gently pressed on Lu Wang's shoulder. He comforted him. "It's been more than 10 years and the mysterious expert has never responded to anyone. Since he responded to you today, he must have agreed." Lu Wang couldn't believe it. "Really?" Guojutao patted Lu Wang's shoulder gently. He said, "You're the first person in more than 10 years who can make the mysterious expert respond. Maybe your filial piety touched him." Lu Wang's face finally showed a happy expression. "If that's really the case, that's great." Guojutao said in a somewhat feminine voice. "The mysterious expert helped us get rid of the bats. The road is clear. Let's hurry up and go." Lu Wang nodded heavily. Then he stood up. In the direction of the mysterious expert, he bowed deeply twice. "On behalf of the 1,000 people in base C9, on behalf of my parents, thank you." Guojutao was also full of sincerity and bowed. At this moment, Immerse had already left Chong and city from the other side. In the blood pool just now, the vein-like arm made him feel uncomfortable. He should leave this place as soon as possible. However, although he decided to go to base C9 to save people, he didn't plan to go with these people. He was a person who was afraid of trouble. The more people there were, the more trouble there would be. Soon he rushed 3 kilometers away. He had already reached the front of the rescue team. He used his telekinesis. The 3 zombies and 2 mutated beasts within a diameter of 1,400 meters had their heads pierced by a few black throwing knives. Now he had to work hard to save 10 million evolution points. Therefore he had to walk in front of these people and clean up the zombies and mutated beast. He continued to walk forward and crossed a mountain ridge. The highway passed through a village. Immerse's 1,000 throwing knives wandered around the village. He gained more than 1,000 evolution points. At the same time, the rescuers who were 1 kilometer behind him had already found the zombie corpses lying on the side of the road. Chapter 52. Immerse didn't go with the rescue team. Instead, he walked a kilometer or 2 ahead of them, clearing the zombies. At this moment, the rescue team finally noticed the abnormality. Deputy Commander Guo, look. A zombie hunter pointed to a place not far ahead. Everyone looked in the direction he pointed. They saw a zombie lying in the grass on the overgrown road. Its body had been corroded by something and only a small part of it was left. Blood was still oozing out of the wound. It gave off an unpleasant smell. It died not long ago, Lu Wang said. Everyone had some guesses in their hearts. They continued to move forward. Not long after, they found another 2 zombies lying on the side of the road. There was also a mutated rat more than a meter long. At this time, someone finally voiced out their guess. It's the mysterious strong man. His words seemed to have turned on the other's voice switch. It must be. Only the mysterious strong man can kill these zombies and mutated beasts without making a sound. This discovery caused everyone to be overjoyed. If the mysterious strong man could go with them, then their success rate would be much higher this time. And the danger would be much lower. I always thought the mysterious strong man was cold. I didn't expect him to be so considerate. He actually helped us clear all the zombies in front. A level 10 zombie hunter said. Guojutao rolled his eyes at the zombie hunter and scolded softly. Who said the mysterious strong man was cold? That's nonsense. The zombie hunter quickly shrank his neck. Deputy Commander, I said too much. I deserved it. As he said that, he slapped himself twice on the face. Everyone burst into laughter. The atmosphere suddenly relaxed. Lu Wang's face was full of excitement and gratitude. In the next few days, Immorse led the way in front. The rescue team's speed was much faster. They could walk 70 to 80 kilometers a day. And this was to take care of psychokinesis. Psychokinesis's body was like an ordinary human's body. If they walked too much, they couldn't bear it at all. These rescue team members wanted to walk faster and catch up with the mysterious strong man in front of them. They wanted to see who the mysterious strong man who had troubled the entire base for more than 10 years was. However, no matter how fast they walked, the mysterious expert was always 1 or 2 kilometers away from them. And as time passed, the mysterious expert seemed to have sped up on purpose. It was getting further and further away from them. When they were about to reach base C9, they were already 10 kilometers away. On the other hand, Immorse had obtained more than 500,000 evolution points in the past few days. His total evolution points were close to 6 million. He looked up at the mountain pass in the distance. After crossing the mountain pass, they would arrive at base C9. He should be able to obtain a lot of evolution points there. That morning, the sky was gloomy. The north wind howled. The wind whistled through the trees. It sounded like the cries of ghosts and howls of wolves. Not long after, the snow began to fall like dandruff from the heavens. In just over 10 minutes, the ground had turned white. Everyone looked toward the mountain pass in front of them. The northern wind had already enveloped the mountain pass with heavy snow. Immorse slowly walked forward. Braving the wind and snow, they arrived at the mountain pass. There was already half an inch of snow under his feet. Everyone looked forward. He saw a large river at the foot of the mountain. On the other side of the river was a huge ruin. Base C9. Looking from afar, one could only see a stretch of dilapidated fences and broken walls. Collapsed walls, destroyed buildings. Just 5 months ago, this place was still full of life. But now it was dead silent. Lu Wang saw this and his heart sank. 5 months. Although the resources of the underground shelter could last these 1,000 people for half a year. But who knew if something unexpected would happen during this time? Everyone followed the highway ramp that was already covered with weeds and entered the toll station. The sissy Guojutao gestured to everyone to be careful. No one knew how many zombies there were in this city. Although there was a mysterious expert nearby. But everyone still had to be careful. Otherwise, no matter how strong a person was, they would not be able to bring along a pig teammate. After entering the city, everyone became even more careful. Guojutao asked Lu Wangxian to lead more than 10 people to scout the way. The rest of the people stayed in an abandoned school to provide support. Lu Wang couldn't wait any longer. He led the dozen or so people towards Central Park at a fast and careful pace. The underground of the park was the underground shelter. At this time, Immorse had also quietly sneaked into the city. But he did not expose himself. Instead, he went into a building. He used his telekinesis to clear the zombies in the building and came to the 47th floor of the building. From the window, he looked out at the entire city. His blood demon eyes had already seen through the flying snowflakes and saw a large amount of corpse energy gathering in the Central Park. Sure enough, when Lu Wang and the dozen people just arrived at the entrance of the Central Park. At the top of the park gate, a strong mutated zombie suddenly appeared. Seeing the arrival of humans, it did not immediately pounce on them like other zombies. Instead it opened its mouth and roared to the sky. Roar, suddenly within a radius of a few thousand meters. Tens of thousands of zombies rushed toward the dozen or so humans. They surrounded the dozen or so humans. Of course, there was psychokinesis among these humans. These tens of thousands of ordinary zombies were no match for them at all. Psychokinesis controlled 12 throwing knives and took only a few minutes to clean up the tens of thousands of zombies. When Immorse saw this, his heart was not moved at all. If it was before, these tens of thousands of zombies would be tens of thousands of evolution points. He might feel heartache for a while. But now that he had more than 6 million evolution points, these tens of thousands of evolution points were not in his eyes at all. His pupils were blood red. The blood demon eyes kept sweeping back and forth. On the wall, the strong mutated zombie saw that ordinary zombies were no match for these humans. It opened its mouth and roared again. Roar. The snowflakes in front of it under this roar were like waves rippling away layer by layer, accompanied by its roar. In the park that was already overgrown with weeds, hundreds of mutated zombies suddenly rushed out. At the same time, hundreds of mutated zombies also rushed out from the half-collapsed buildings behind them. When Immorse saw this, his eyebrows slightly furrowed. Although these hundreds of mutated zombies were strong, but they were far from reaching the point where the corpse energy was so dense. There must be something strange in here. So he still did not move. The humans below, dealing with these 200 mutated zombies was not a problem. Sure enough, these 200 mutated zombies were not enough for Lu Wang alone. In a moment, blood flowed everywhere, broken limbs and bodies were everywhere. In the end, after more than 200 mutated zombies were killed, more than 10 strong mutated zombies appeared. But these more than 10 strong mutated zombies were only level 1 and level 2. They were still not a match for these humans. After killing all the powerful mutant zombies, everyone could finally breathe a sigh of relief. It seems that after 5 months, those strong mutated zombies and mutated beasts have already retreated. That's right, otherwise there would not be so few strong mutated zombies here. Hurry up, open the shelter. Otherwise, when other zombies and mutated beasts smell the blood here, they will quickly rush over. Guojutao ordered. Lu Wang nodded heavily. Immediately he led everyone into the park. On the roof not far away, Immorse's blood demon eyes stared at a certain place in the park. Chapter 53. Central Park. The weeds were now as tall as a person. Although this used to be a base and had only been abandoned for half a year, the vitality of the weeds was far beyond people's imagination. Everyone stepped on the weeds and carefully walked inside. After walking for more than 100 meters, they saw a rockery. Lu Wang saw the rockery from afar. His eyes flickered, looking excited and nervous. He said in a low voice, "The entrance to the underground shelter is next to the rockery." Everyone was also happy. Their footsteps also quickened a little. A moment later they arrived next to the rockery. There were also some mutated zombies and ordinary zombies near the rockery. Psychokinesis used throwing knives to easily get rid of these zombies. Then everyone followed Lu Wang and went up the rockery. Halfway up the rockery, under the stone wall, there was a huge rock that was as tall as a person. Lu Wang kicked the huge rock away. A metal door was revealed behind the door. The metal door looked much thicker than ordinary security doors. Lu Wang tried to knock on the door. The rhythm changed, 3 long and 2 short. Inside the door there was no sound. Lu Wang's expression changed slightly. Then he knocked 3 more times in a row. There was still no response. Lu Wang's expression suddenly became ugly. His voice was slightly trembling. He said, "When I left, I made an agreement with them. If anything happened, I would bring people back to rescue them." The effeminate Guojutao gently placed a hand on his shoulder. He said, "Don't worry, try again." Lu Wang nodded. He continued to knock for a while. The more he knocked, the colder his heart became. "My parents are still inside, my parents are still inside." At a certain moment he seemed to be unable to bear this huge pressure anymore. He threw a few fierce punches at the metal door. Bang, bang, bang. Although the metal door was thick, it could not withstand the continuous bombardment of a level 4 hunter. Finally, boom, it collapsed with a bang. A pitch-black passage appeared in front of everyone. Lu Wang was about to walk in, but Guojutao pressed on his shoulder again. Then he waved his hand and psychokinesis's telekinesis probed into the door. However, in the next moment, Psychokinesis's expression changed drastically. He exclaimed, "Spread out." Before he could finish his sentence, a huge head popped out of the hole that had just been opened. He opened his mouth and bit down on Psychokinesis. Ah! Psychokinesis's screams had just been heard. It had already been swallowed by the head. When everyone saw this, their expressions changed drastically. They hurriedly fled in all directions. When he looked back, he saw that the head was the size of a square table. Oval shape. Clearly, it was the head of a blood-red python. However, there were more than a dozen 1-meter-long barbs on its head. After swallowing the psychokinesis, it raised its huge head and roared at the sky. Roar. The ceiling above his head also opened up. In the next moment, a huge body suddenly jumped out. The door in the passageway was unable to withstand the impact and collapsed with a loud bang. At this moment, everyone finally saw its true appearance. It was a mutated python that was about 50 meters long. The giant python's body was covered with distinct blood-red scales. On its back there were triangular ridges. It roared at the sky and swam towards everyone. Guojutao did not hesitate. His right arm quickly changed and quickly turned into a 100-meter-long drill bit. With Guojutao's combat experience, he could naturally tell that this giant python was not an ordinary mutated beast. It was a strong mutated beast that was even stronger than mutated beasts. It was estimated that its level had reached around level 3. Therefore he used a genetic weapon the moment he attacked. His drill bit rotated at high speed and pierced the giant python's body. Ding 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 ding, sparks flew everywhere. The giant python's body rolled slightly. The drill bit was deflected and hit the fake mountain beside it. Rumble. The fake mountain that was more than 20 meters tall suddenly collapsed with a loud bang. When everyone saw this, their expressions turned grave. Even a genetic weapon could not do anything to it. The strength of this giant python had probably reached level 4. It might even be higher. However, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that when they were confronting this mutated giant python, more than 20 giant pythons jumped out from the surrounding grass. The strength of these giant pythons was extremely terrifying. Psychokinesis flying knives could not even pierce through their scales. Not to mention injuring them. Next, they tried to use rockets and other genetic weapons to attack these mutated giant pythons. However, the bodies of these mutated giant pythons seemed to be cast from copper and iron. No matter what methods they used, they could not break through their defense. However, the rescue team did not despair. This was because they knew that there was a mysterious powerhouse standing behind them. At this moment, they only needed to do their best and persevere in battle. The mysterious expert would naturally appear. Soon these humans and the mutated giant pythons fought. However, with their strength, they could not even deal with one mutated giant python, let alone more than 20 of them. Right at this moment, Immorse finally made his move. He leaped and directly jumped down from the top of a tall building that was dozens of stories high. Boom! The ground under his feet cracked inch by inch under the huge impact. The shock wave formed when he landed caused the flying snow in the air to suddenly roll outwards. Then his right foot touched the ground slightly. Whoosh! In an instant he jumped 150 meters. With both feet touching the ground, his speed was extremely fast. In just more than 10 seconds he had already arrived on the battlefield. When a mutated giant python saw Immorse pouncing over, its giant tail suddenly slapped towards Immorse. Immorse's body slightly tilted. How that giant tail slapped the ground. Instantly, a gully more than 10 meters long was created. Immorse's mind power moved. A bloodthirsty corpse-slaying flying knife was taken out. Whoosh! The corpse-slaying flying knife easily pierced through the mutated giant python's head. It was as easy as piercing a piece of paper. Swish swish! A bloody hole suddenly appeared in the mutated giant python's head. And this bloody hole was still bubbling with blood, making a sizzling sound. That mutated giant python did not even let out a scream. Its huge head crashed to the ground with a bang. Then the second and third giant pythons were easily pierced through by his flying knife. At this time, the other mutated giant pythons saw that this human who suddenly appeared was so strong. One by one they gave up attacking others. Instead they all pounced on Immorse. Immorse was surrounded by 18 berserk giant pythons that were more than 50 meters long, but he was not afraid. With just a flying knife he constantly pierced through these giant pythons. Whoosh whoosh whoosh. Every time there was a sound, a giant python died under the flying knife. When the people who were fighting saw this scene, they were all ecstatic. The mysterious expert had finally arrived. Moreover, this time there was no smoke or blood fog around. They could clearly see the appearance of this expert. He was in his 20s, wearing a very unique camouflage uniform that was similar to the color of animal skin. Although he did not look particularly handsome, he gave people a very special feeling. Everyone was a little surprised. They had thought that the mysterious expert would be a human in his 40s or 50s. After all, more than 10 years ago, before even the corpse hunters appeared, the mysterious expert had already appeared. But they did not expect that the mysterious expert looked like a young man in his 20s. This contrast made it difficult for them to accept for a while. Chapter 54. In the park, amidst the flying snow, Immorse slowly moved forward. This time he did not deliberately hide his figure. With his current strength, there was nothing in the entire base that could harm him. Naturally, there was no need to deliberately hide. A pitch-black flying dagger that was more than a foot long was hovering around him. Only mutant pythons dared to come up. The black flying knife would instantly turn into a black light and pierce through their heads. For a moment, everyone in the rescue team was extremely excited. The mysterious powerhouse. He finally appeared. It's been more than 10 years, and this is the first time I've seen the mysterious powerhouse. It's a blessing of 3 lifetimes to be the first to see the mysterious powerhouse with my own eyes. The mysterious powerhouse had been hiding in the base for more than 10 years. He had become the biggest secret of the entire C1 base. He had extraordinary strength and saved the base from danger several times. But he had never revealed his true identity. No matter who it was, from the base chief to Old Lee of the corpse farm. They all wanted to see the mysterious powerhouse's true appearance. And now, more than 50 of them had become the first group to see the mysterious powerhouse with their own eyes. How could this not make them excited? And among all these people, there were 2 people who had fallen into a daze at this time. One was a level 10 corpse hunter. Cross-eyed Xiaodou. He fell into a daze that lasted for a few minutes. His mind was blank, and his face had long been occupied by various expressions of shock, disbelief, and so on. 7 or 8 years ago he was just a corpse farmer. He was a colleague of Immorse. Later, when he was injected with the gene enhancer, he successfully strengthened his body and became a corpse hunter. On the same day he moved out of the corpse farm. Since then he had never gone back. In his opinion, raising corpses was the lowest job. It was not easy to get out of the corpse farm. How could he go back? Later, on the way, he occasionally met Old Lee and Immorse, but he treated them as strangers. Because he felt that he was a corpse hunter and his status was noble. He disdained to have anything to do with a group of corpse farmers. However, at this moment God seemed to have played a big joke on him. His former colleague, the corpse farmer Immorse that he looked down on, turned out to be the mysterious powerhouse who had saved the base from danger several times. The mysterious powerhouse who single-handedly killed millions of people. Xiaodou felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His entire worldview was shattered into pieces. He thought about how he had met Old Lee and Immorse in the base and how Old Lee had wanted to greet him. However, he turned around and ignored them, hurriedly passing by. He immediately felt his cheeks burn with shame. Now that he thought about it, Immorse probably thought of him as a clown back then. The mysterious expert that he had been longing to meet all these years was actually a colleague that he used to see every day. It was laughable that he had looked down on him. What qualifications do I have to look down on him? Actually, Xiaodou was overthinking things. Immorse did not take him seriously at all. The other person who was shocked was Guju Tao, the vice leader of the hunter group. He was so shocked that he forgot to retract his genetic weapon. He stood there in a daze. His gaze was fixed on Immorse, who was slowly walking over. Others might not know Immorse, but as the former vice captain of District A's corpse hunting team, he had naturally seen Immorse before. The corpse breeder and the mysterious expert. The 2 of them were like heaven and earth. But now the 2 of them were actually the same person. Heaven and earth. How was this possible? At this moment he thought back to more than 10 years ago. That blurry memory gradually became clear. At that time he was still the vice captain of District A's corpse hunting team. He was eating in the cafeteria with the captain and the others. Then they heard a loud noise coming from the gym. When they hurried over to take a look, they saw that the dynamometer in the gym had been uprooted. It was thrown more than 30 meters away by something. It was also twisted into a fried dough twist. When they went over to check, Immorse was holding a dustpan and a broom, stupidly standing at the entrance of the gym. He was obviously scared out of his wits. He remembered that when everyone passed by Immorse, almost all of them pulled him aside. They felt that he was a hindrance. Later they looked everywhere for that mysterious creature, but they did not find any clues. They did not expect that today this mystery would finally be solved. The mysterious creature at that time turned out to be Immorse, the one they thought was stupid. Indeed, this way everything could be explained. It was laughable that at that time he and the captain had called Immorse over many times to ask what had happened at that time. When Immorse said that he did not know, he and the captain had impatiently waved their hands and told him to scram back to raising pigs. Now that he thought about it, all of this was so laughable in Immorse's eyes. At that time Immorse probably already thought of them as idiots. Of course Guojutao was thinking too much. At that time, Immorse did not even take them to heart. At this time, Immorse's throwing knife killed those mutated giant pythons one by one. These mutated giant pythons had already reached level 4 to 6 strong mutated beasts. Those hunters below level 4 could not hurt them at all with their genetic weapons. But Immorse's bloodthirsty corpse-slaying throwing knife was the bane of zombies. Together with Immorse's tyrannical telekinesis, he could easily kill these mutated giant pythons. As for why Immorse did not use other throwing knives to kill all the mutated giant pythons at the same time, this was because he felt that things were a bit strange. So he left the other throwing knives in his backpack first in case of any accidents. At this time, Guojutao recovered from the shock of Immorse. He subconsciously looked at Lu Wang. He was a person as careful as a woman. Lu Wang must have been very anxious when the mutated giant pythons suddenly jumped out of the underground shelter. After all, his parents were still in the underground shelter. He wanted to comfort Lu Wang first. However, when Guojutao's gaze swept across everyone, he found that Lu Wang was not at all. He looked around again. With this look, he saw that Lu Wang had already left the battlefield and was running in the direction of the park gate. "Lu Wang, where are you going?" Guojutao shouted. However, Lu Wang did not turn his head. At the same time, at the gate of the park, there were thousands of mutated zombies rushing in quickly. Among them, there were hundreds of strong mutated zombies. Lu Wang alone actually rushed straight towards these zombies. Without hesitation, everyone heard Guojutao's shout and turned their heads to look. Then they all cried out in surprise. "Lu Wang! Lu Wang, come back quickly. With the mysterious strong person here, everything can be solved. Come back quickly. He must have gone to attract the attention of these zombies and wants us to go to the underground shelter to see if those people are still there." Guojutao's heart surged with hot blood. In order to buy time for them, Lu Wang faced thousands of mutated zombies alone. This was definitely a one-way trip. Gritting his teeth, he shouted softly. "The 5 of you follow me to the underground shelter. The rest of you guard the entrance." However, they did not have time to act. Then they saw a scene that shocked everyone. Chapter 55. At this moment, everyone saw a shocking scene. They saw that Lu Wang was only 10 meters away from the thousands of zombies. But those zombies had no intention of attacking Lu Wang. And Lu Wang did not attack those zombies. The zombies even opened up a path for him. Lu Wang immediately sprinted out of the tunnel. At this moment, everyone looked at each other. What was going on? Even Guojutao, who was the quickest thinker, could not figure it out. Their eyes followed Lu Wang all the way. Until Lu Wang walked to the front of a building in the distance. 2 strong evolved zombies escorted out a middle-aged man and a woman. Lu Wang strode to the man and the woman. He hugged the man and the woman tightly. Then he took the man and the woman and quickly left in the wind and snow. At this moment, everyone in the rescue team felt as if they had been struck by lightning. Their faces were full of confusion. Guojutao was completely dumbfounded. His shock and disbelief were no less than the shock and disbelief when he found out that Immorse was the mysterious strong man. What did they see? After half a minute, Lu Wang and the man and the woman had disappeared in the wind and snow. Only then did some people come back to their senses. Damn it, he betrayed us. It's not betrayal, it's AF** king trap from the beginning. He came to our base to ask for help, just to lead us to the encirclement of these zombies. There are number 1,000 survivors. There are only his parents. F***ck. Even the most elegant person couldn't help but want to curse at this moment. They followed this bastard, risking their lives, and walked for more than 500 kilometers. To rescue the 1,000 survivors. To rescue his parents. But they suddenly found out that it was all a scam. How could they not curse out loud? But soon someone came back to their senses. If he just wanted to lead us to the zombies, he didn't have to go so far. He could have let the zombies kill us on the way. With this reminder, everyone also came back to their senses. The mysterious strong man. Someone said. Then all of their eyes fell on the mysterious strong man. Lu Wang did it for the mysterious strong man. Only a mysterious strong man could make the zombies put on such a big show. No wonder Lu Wang had repeatedly requested the mysterious expert to come with him to rescue the non-existent 1,000 humans. He didn't even hesitate to kneel down and kowtow twice. Thinking of this, flames of anger rose in everyone's hearts. Damn it, this brat wants to harm the mysterious expert. Son of AB**, he harmed the mysterious expert, which means he harmed our entire base. This kid isn't human at all. It's a dog, a beast. What's scarier than zombies and mutant beasts is this kid's heart. At this time, Immorse only glanced indifferently at the place where Lu Wang disappeared. He sighed mockingly in his heart. There are always unruly people who want to harm me. Betrayal? A trap. In the face of absolute power, all of this was just a child's prank. Along the way, he had already noticed that something was not quite right with Lu Wang. The strength of the zombies that he had killed along the way was not something that Lu Wang could deal with. With Lu Wang's strength as a level 4 hunter, it would be difficult for him to survive for more than a month in such a wilderness alone. He also noticed that every time Lu Wang heard the words mysterious strong man, his eyes would flicker slightly. Others might think that Lu Wang was hoping that the mysterious strong man would come with him to save his parents and the 1,000 people. But Immorse had the blood demon pupil. The blood demon pupil could not only see the zombie aura, but also see the details that ordinary people could not notice. He always felt that there was something wrong with Lu Wang's flickering eyes. So he had been on guard against him. This was the main reason why he didn't go with the rescue team. But at this time he was slightly puzzled. Obviously, Lu Wang had some kind of secret deal with the zombies. But how did he communicate with the zombies? Could it be that he also understood the zombie language? Everyone saw that the mysterious strong man knew that he had fallen into a trap, but there was not a trace of emotion on his face. They all felt a lot more relieved. At the same time, they admired the mysterious strong man even more. Perhaps only the strength of the mysterious strong man could be so indifferent, not happy with external gains and not sad with personal gains. At this time, Immorse controlled the throwing knife with his telekinesis and killed a mutated giant python. A notification appeared in his mind. Frowny face killed a level 6 strong mutated beast, plus 6,000 evolution points. He moved his telekinesis again. Xiao. The foot-long throwing knife was like the scythe of the Grim Reaper. It reaped the lives of these mutated giant pythons. In his mind there were continuous notifications. Evolution points plus 4,000, evolution points plus 4,000. Soon more than 20 mutated giant pythons were killed. His evolution points increased by another 100,000. At this time he turned his head and looked at the 1,000 mutated zombies and the 100-strong mutated zombies that surrounded him. This number was still increasing. 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 mutated zombies. 100, 200, 300 strong mutated zombies. The members of the rescue team all had grave expressions on their faces. It must be known that strong mutated zombies were equivalent to a hunter's strength. 10 strong mutated zombies were enough to keep them busy. Not to mention 100. At this moment, a faint smile appeared on the corner of Immorse's mouth. Everyone saw the smile on his face. A trace of surprise rose in their hearts. The mysterious strong man was actually smiling. It could be seen that these 100-strong mutated zombies were nothing in his eyes. In fact, they were wrong. In Immorse's eyes, the strong mutated zombies were considered evolution points. A strong mutated zombie was worth at least 1,000 evolution points. If it was a level 2 or 3 strong mutated zombie, it was worth 2 to 3,000 evolution points. 300-strong mutated zombies was probably close to 1,000,000 evolution points. In addition to the 3,000 mutated zombies. In total it was estimated to be about 2,000,000 evolution points. So many evolution points made him secretly happy. The corner of his mouth revealed a smile that came from the bottom of his heart. At the same time, on top of a building in the distance, a zombie and a bird were standing there. On the zombie's face there were 3 claw marks. The flesh at the corner of its mouth was peeled off by the claw marks. One could directly see the sharp teeth inside. The bird was a fleshless owl with a pair of bat wings. At this time the mutated owl's mouth let out a screech. Leader, you have successfully broken through to a level 8 strong mutated zombie. This human is probably only a level 5 hunter. This time you can crush this human. The zombie with 3 claw marks also let out a screech from its throat. This human is a psychokinesis. He is stronger than the average level 5 hunter. However, speaking until here, his eyes showed a trace of disdain. In front of me, he is just an ant. Do you know that humans watch circus? The mutated owl nodded. I know. They will sit in a shed and watch some animals or clowns perform. Speaking until here, the mutated owl's eyes lit up. It hissed, Leader, you are saying that in your eyes he is just a clown. Chapter 56. The zombie leader heard the owl's words. It didn't answer. It just laughed like a broken gong from its throat. Dee. The mutant owl also laughed and said, I understand, leader. Then let's watch this clown's performance first. At this time in the Central Park, more than 3,000 mutated zombies and more than 300 strong mutated zombies rushed towards Immerse and the others. And around the park, there was still a steady stream of mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies, surrounding Immerse and the others. Everyone's face was stern. Holding the weapons in their hands tightly, they were ready to fight to the death at any time. The sissy Guojutao couldn't help but look at Immerse at this time. He asked carefully, Emo? The strong, our entire rescue team is under your command. What do you want us to do? Hearing this, everyone nodded in agreement. The mysterious strong man was the most powerful existence. He could burst out the strength comparable to the gods. No one dared to disobey the mysterious strong man's command. However, Immerse only said 2 words in a flat tone. Watch. Everyone was stunned. At this time, Immerse had already shown 900 flying knives. 900 extremely high-tech black flying knives were suspended around them. Each flying knife was more than a foot long. Their whole bodies were as black as ink. The shape of the flying knives was similar to a short knife. The blade of each flying dagger was composed of dozens of components. With just a glance one could feel 3 words. Hi, big hi. The 2 psychokinesis saw such flying knives and looked at each other. They both understood the meaning of that glance. Compared with the flying knives of the mysterious strong man, their flying knives were simply broken. These flying knives, even if not 1,000, were close. To be able to control 1,000 flying knives. How strong was the psychokinesis to be able to do this? Immerse used his psychokinesis to control these 900 black flying knives. It didn't form a black tornado like before. Instead, it condensed into the shape of a black python more than 20 meters long. Don't you like to play with snakes? I'll let you see what a real snake game is. The black python more than 20 meters long flew in the air. Almost instantaneously they arrived in front of those mutated zombies. The huge mouth suddenly opened. Because the giant python was condensed from flying knives. When the huge mouth opened, the flying knife could rapidly expand outwards. It looked like a giant python's head had suddenly expanded many times over. The huge mouth also instantly expanded by more than 20 times. Hundreds of zombies were swallowed with just one bite. At the same time, the flying daggers in the python's body were spinning rapidly. The zombies that were swallowed into its body were minced into pieces in just a few seconds. Moreover, every bloodthirsty corpse beheading flying dagger would release a strong acid after absorbing the blood of zombies. Therefore, once those zombies were swallowed, they would be corroded by the strong acid. In the end, it turned into black smoke. The giant python's huge mouth continued to swallow. Only black smoke could be seen coming out from behind it. It looked as if it had been fitted with a diesel engine. Everyone was secretly horrified. In just over a minute, over 1,000 zombies were buried in the python's stomach. Furthermore, not a single drop of blood or bone was spilled. This was a steel monster that ate zombies without spitting out their bones. Although there were still zombies around to replenish. But the replenishment speed was not as fast as the black python's swallowing speed. On the top of the building in the distance, the claw-marked zombie saw this and was slightly stunned. This human's telekinesis seemed to be slightly stronger than he expected. But soon, a look of disdain appeared on his face again. After he broke through to level 8 strong mutated zombie, his strength had increased by a lot. How could this human be his opponent? What a joke. Thinking of this, he opened his mouth and roared, "Roar." This was an order to those mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies. Let them change their fighting style. Those zombies received the order and immediately left some to deal with the black python. Most of the strong mutated zombies attacked those humans. All the humans saw those strong mutated zombies attacking and they were all shocked. The mysterious strong man was now controlling the flying knife python to clean up the surrounding zombies. He had no time to care about their surroundings. It seemed that they had to take action. However, there were more than 200 strong mutated zombies rushing over. Plus more than 1,000 mutated zombies. Their mere 50 people were simply not enough to deal with them. However, in the next moment around them, suddenly 100 black flying knives appeared out of thin air. These 100 black flying knives circled around them and spun rapidly, forming a black flying knife barrier. The two strong mutated zombies that rushed the fastest were instantly minced into pieces by this flying knife barrier. The next moment, the hundreds of strong mutated zombies had no time to stop. They also rushed into the flying knife barrier. Puff 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 puff. All the strong mutated zombies were also minced into pieces and thrown out the moment they rushed into the flying knife barrier. As for those mutated zombies, needless to say, there was no suspense at all and they were also minced into meat paste. More than 1,000 mutated zombies, more than 200 strong mutated zombies. In just a few seconds they were all killed in an instant. The surrounding was suddenly filled with a pungent smell. Every piece of meat was emitting black smoke. In a short time, it melted into a pool of blood. All the rescue team members looked at each other. They thought that the mysterious strong man was busy using the flying knife python to clean up the distant zombies and had no time to deal with the nearby zombies. They did not expect that so many strong mutated zombies would be killed in an instant. This strength was simply beyond their imagination. It turned out that when the mysterious strong man said to let them watch, he really just let them watch. On the other hand, the two telekinesis masters were far more shocked than the rest of the people. Multitasking. One of the psychokinesis said in shock. The other psychokinesis just nodded in shock, unable to speak at all. As psychokinesis, they clearly knew how difficult it was to multitask for psychokinesis. Using telekinesis to control the flying knife and carry out precise attacks, this itself required a lot of effort to practice. Not to mention that while attacking with the flying knife, they also had to divide their attention to defend. Now the mysterious strong man not only used the flying knife to condense the giant python to devour those zombies. At the same time, he could also control the flying knife to form a defensive barrier to defend. This ability was something that they did not even dare to think about. If every psychokinesis could multitask like the mysterious strong man, then wouldn't psychokinesis have no weakness? Of course, this would never be possible for them. Soon, Immerse's flying knife python had completely devoured the surrounding zombies. The nearby zombies were killed by the flying knife barrier after thousands of them were killed. They began to feel fear and wanted to turn around and run away. But under the double attack of the flying knife barrier and the flying knife python, they could only die. At the same time, the evolution points in Immerse's mind increased sharply. Chapter 57. At this time, the 3,000 mutated zombies and 300 strong mutated zombies had all been cleared by Immerse. Immerse's mind was already filled with notifications of his evolution points increasing. Killed a level 3 mutated zombie, evolution points plus 300. Killed a level 2 strong mutated zombie, evolution points plus 2,000. Killed a level 3 strong mutated beast, evolution points plus 3,000. In the end, after killing all the zombies, his evolution points had increased by 2 million. His total evolution points had reached 8.97 million. Close to 9 million. Immerse could not help but look forward to it. He did not know what new functions he would get after the system upgrade this time. He also did not know what rewards he would get. At the same time, at the top of a building in the distance, the zombie with claw marks finally had some changes in its gaze. This human was stronger than it had imagined. In all honesty, with his strength as a level 8 mutant zombie, it was not impossible to kill so many mutant zombies and mutant zombies. However, it would not be as easy as this human. This human's telekinesis was really strong to a terrifying degree. The mutated owl at the side saw the leader's gaze flicker. It hissed, "Leader, if you don't personally act, I'm afraid you won't be able to kill this human." The zombie leader roared, "When watching a circus, you must watch it all." The mutated owl wanted to say something, but it suddenly heard the mountain pass in the distance. An earth-shattering hiss was heard. Hiss, "Ayo." When this earth-shattering hiss came out, the snow that was fluttering down seemed to have stopped for a moment. The mutated owl was slightly stunned, but it immediately understood. So the leader still had a card. At this time in the Central Park, when everyone heard this cry, each and every one of them was horrified and shocked. This hiss was actually able to make everyone feel as if their hearts were trembling along with it. It could be seen that the strength of the creature that could make this hiss was not something they could imagine. At this time, after Immorse had killed those zombies, he knew that there were still more than 2,000 mutated zombies and 200 strong mutated zombies within a kilometer of him. However, he did not immediately chase after these zombies. This was because his blood-red demonic eyes had already seen the corpse aura at the mountain pass. At this time he heard this hiss. His heart slightly trembled. It seemed that it was something extraordinary. However, he did not panic at all. With his current speed, he would not be able to defeat that creature. However, escaping was not a problem. He wanted to lose before he thought about winning. This was Immorse's usual style of doing things. Before doing anything, he had to think of a way out. At this moment, through the heavy snow in the sky, he could vaguely see a blood-red python slithering along the highway. At a glance, this giant python was actually over 100 meters long. On the giant python's head, which was as huge as a house, there were dozens of huge barbs that were more than 2 meters long. Every barb was like a javelin. On both sides of the giant python's neck, there were cobra-like folds of flesh. At this moment, the folds of flesh had already opened up like 2 huge fans. It looked extremely aggressive. Crawled across the river. The thick layer of ice on the surface of the river instantly cracked. It crawled over the ruined building. The dilapidated building collapsed. It crawled across the abandoned parking lot. In the parking lot, the cars creaked and turned into sheets of metal. It climbed to a distance of 1 kilometer from Central Park. Everyone finally got a clear view of its entire body. It was 100 meters long and its diameter was more than 3 meters. Each of the blood-red scales was about half a meter in diameter. When this 100-meter-long python crawled across the city, the already dilapidated buildings were directly turned into ruins. This 100-meter-long python did not pay attention to those humans at this moment. In its opinion, humans were just mere reptiles. Its pair of blood-red eyes stared straight at the flying knife python that was more than 20 meters long. Its eyes were filled with anger. As an overlord among the giant pythons, it would not allow another giant python to show off in front of it. Even if this was only a giant python condensed from flying knives. Hiss. The folds of flesh on its neck expanded a little more. At the top of the folds of flesh, more than 20 spikes even appeared. This made it look even more ferocious. This roar was a declaration of its sovereignty. It was a strong mutated beast that had reached level 8. Since its mutation, it had never encountered a snake that was stronger than it. Any snake had to submit in front of it. Despite that, not only did the flying knife python not submit, but it also roared at the flying knife python. Instead, it also raised its head. Folds of flesh also appeared on its neck. The inner folds opened and kept trembling. In its mouth, there was a hissing sound of metal rubbing against each other. This was the sound of the hundreds of flying knives in the flying knife python's mouth that Immorse controlled, constantly rubbing against each other. The 100-meter-long python was instantly furious. A small 20-meter-long snake dared to show its power in front of it? In the next moment, the 100-meter-long python's upper body stood up more than 20 meters high. It was actually much higher than the 6-story building next to it. Then its tail propped up and its body suddenly catapulted out. It opened its huge mouth and pounced on the flying knife python. In front of the 100-meter-long python, the 20-meter-long flying knife python was like a lonely boat in a storm, too weak to withstand the wind. However, in the next moment, the flying knife python suddenly opened its mouth. A large amount of dark green liquid suddenly sprayed out of its mouth. It sprayed out more than 50 meters. It was sprayed on the neck of the 100-meter-long python. Chi chi chi. As soon as the liquid came into contact with the scales of the 100-meter-long python, there was a sound like water being poured on fire. The scales of the 100-meter-long python were instantly corroded into a large hole. The 100-meter-long python immediately fell to the ground. It smashed down several giant trees with a diameter of half a meter next to it. It seemed to have been electrocuted, twisting its body in pain. It kept roaring like a pig being slaughtered. Ow hiss, ow hiss. A hole was quickly corroded into its body under its scales. The flesh and bones in the hole turned into blood water, bubbling with blood. Black smoke rose from its body. In just half a minute, the 100-meter-long python was broken into two parts. And the corrosive strong acid still had no intention of stopping. It continued to corrode the two parts of the python, until it was completely corroded. Only a large pile of blood-red mucus was left on the ground. And this mucus was still bubbling, corroding the hay and the ground below. When all the rescuers saw this scene, their mouths were half open and their eyes were wide open. This 100-meter-long python was probably a level 8 mutated beast. In front of this 100-meter-long python they were basically ants. But now this 100-meter-long python was killed in an instant. And the one who killed it in an instant was a 20-meter-long flying knife python. The most unbelievable thing was that the flying knife python could spit out corrosive liquid. After all, it was condensed from flying daggers. It was not a living thing at all. How could it spit out liquid? Even if they scratched their heads they could not figure it out. Chapter 58. A 20-meter-long steel python condensed from flying daggers killed the 100-meter-long python in an instant. No one had expected this. But what they couldn't figure out was how a steel python could spit out something from its mouth. They didn't know that this was Immerse's intention. After Immerse's telekinesis reached level 8, he could control the release of acid from the bloodthirsty corpse slaying flying dagger at will. The steel python had swallowed more than 3,000 zombies without wasting a single drop of blood. Just think about it, how much acid would be converted into. When the 100-meter giant python attacked, Immerse used his telekinesis to force the acid out. From the perspective of others, it looked like the steel python had spat out acid. In the distance at the top of the building, the mutant owl saw this scene and its eyes narrowed. Its hoarse voice trembled a little as it said, "That's right. Leader, you have to do it yourself. This human is too strong." As soon as it finished speaking, the leader leaped. It fell from a building that was dozens of meters high to the ground. Boom! It was the same as Immerse's previous jump from a tall building. The ground cracked inch by inch. The shock wave sent the falling snowflakes flying in all directions. Then the leader took a step. One step was more than 180 meters. Thump, thump, thump. Its feet tapped continuously and it quickly jumped forward. Seeing this, the mutant owl secretly praised in its heart. After the leader was promoted to level 8, it was indeed much stronger. However, the next moment the mutant owl was stunned. The direction the leader jumped in wasn't the human at all. Instead it jumped into the distance. Wait, the leader actually ran away? The mutant owl couldn't figure it out. It immediately spread its wings and flew in the direction the leader ran. Flying above the leader's head, it asked in a hoarse voice, "Leader, why didn't you kill this human?" The zombie with 3 claw marks let out a zombie growl and said, "After a while I will be promoted to level 9 strong mutant zombie. At that time I will kill their base and kill this human." The mutant owl was speechless. These words sounded familiar. A few months ago when the leader was still a level 7 mutant zombie he had said the same thing. But then again this human was clearly much stronger than before. If that was the case when the leader became a level 9 variant zombie, how strong would this human be? Thinking of this, the mutated owl turned its head and looked at Immerse through the wind and snow from afar. Then it flapped its wings and quickly followed its leader. At the same time, Immerse killed the 100-meter-long python. He looked around with his blood demon eyes. There wasn't too much corpse energy in the vicinity. On the other hand, there was still corpse chi gathering somewhere after they crossed the mountain. With a thought, thousands of flying daggers began to clean up the remaining mutated zombies and strong mutated zombies. Any zombie would be easily minced into meat paste under his flying knife. When the rescue team saw how powerful the mysterious expert was, they were shocked. They all had the urge to worship him. Just how strong was the mysterious expert? It seemed that until today he had never seen an opponent who could withstand a single blow from the mysterious expert. He was so strong that he didn't seem human. Thousands of flying daggers, wherever they passed, not even a blade of grass was left. Even the remains of the buildings. After the flying daggers flew past, they all collapsed. Took half an hour to clean up the zombies in the entire city. Immerse's evolution points had reached 9.57 million points. He only needed the last 400,000 points. He couldn't help but shake his head slightly. Then the blood demon eyes crossed the mountain in front of him and looked at the corpse chi there. It seemed that he had to go there again. Thinking of this, he tapped his feet lightly and quickly left along the snow-covered road. Behind him, the rescue team members were all stunned. Where is the mysterious expert going? Do you want to go and see? Better not. With the mysterious expert's performance these years, he doesn't seem to like being disturbed. Everyone looked at each other and couldn't make up their minds. In the end, everyone's eyes fell on Guju Tao. He was the strongest person here and also the vice leader of the hunting group. At this time he naturally had to make the decision. Guju Tao thought for a moment and said, I know everyone wants to go and see. I want to. Then, let's go and see. But if we annoy the mysterious expert, everyone will say that they are worried about him and followed to see. Everyone nodded when they heard this. Then they followed Immerse's back and walked in the direction of the mountain. However, Immerse's speed was very fast, 150 meters per second. And in order to take care of the two psychokinesis, they could only go 5 or 6 meters per second at most. At this time, the weakness of psychokinesis's body was exposed. These two psychokinesis were also very helpless. There was no other way. Psychokinesis's fighting strength was strong, but their bodies were so weak. The heavens are fair. You can't have both sides, right? But soon they all thought, there really was someone who occupied both sides. It was really enviable. While Immerse was running in the direction of the mountain pass in front of him, he saw a string of footprints on the snow in front of him, extending into the distance alone in the snow. He wasn't surprised. When he was fighting in Central Park just now, his blood demon eyes saw a corpse aura on the roof of a building in the distance. Although it was only the corpse aura emitted by one zombie, it was stronger than the corpse aura of the 300 strong mutated zombies added together. So at that time in the park he waited for this corpse aura to come. But what he didn't expect was that not only did the corpse aura not come, but it also escaped at an extremely fast speed. The footprints now should be left by the owner of the corpse aura. Looking at the direction of the footprints, it should be on the other side of the mountain where the corpse aura was pervading. Soon he went over the mountain in front of him. Immerse saw a mountain about a few hundred meters high in front of him through the heavy snow. At the foot of the mountain, about 5 kilometers away from him, there was a village. Above the village, the corpse aura was pervasive. The blood-red corpse aura was so dense that it seemed to be solidifying. And the place where the footprints pointed was obviously that village. Immerse paused his footsteps. He took out a bottle of brain cell recovery medicine and drank it. Although in the battle in Central Park he didn't even sweat. He consumed some of his mental power but only 20%. But in this village the corpse aura was too dense. So it was better to be careful. It was always right to restore his mental power to its peak state first. At the same time, Immerse was also thinking of his own escape route. If there was a powerful existence in the village, how could he escape? Thinking of defeat before thinking of victory. This was Immerse's consistent style of doing things. After all, this was the apocalypse. Only survival was the way to go. Chapter 59. Before Immerse did anything, he didn't want to win, he wanted to lose first. It was the same at this moment. Especially when he saw the speed of the strong corpse energy leaving just now, it was probably about 180 meters per second. Obviously this was a level 8 strong mutated zombie. Although Immerse believed that with his current strength, Crushing a level 8 strong mutated zombie wouldn't be a problem. But there was always a chance. What if something unexpected happened? At that time, even if he wanted to escape, his speed would be far inferior to that level 8 strong mutated zombie. Therefore, before going to that village, he had to think of a way to escape. After thinking about it, Immorse couldn't think of any way. He couldn't rely on those rescue teams. They wouldn't be enough to fill the gaps between the strong mutated zombie's teeth. He shook his head. Immorse sighed helplessly. Forget it, I'll sign in first and see if I can get anything good. He originally planned to stay in the ruins of the C9 base for today's sign-in opportunity. But his attention was only on that strong mutated zombie just now, and he didn't have time to sign in. Now that he urgently needed a way out, he could only try signing in here. But he didn't have much hope. It would be strange if he could sign something good in this desolate mountain range. System sign in. Soon, the system responded, frowny face, sign in successful. Sign in event. Tracking a level 8 strong mutated zombie. Sign in reward. Dragon Shadow Step. Immorse was slightly stunned. There was indeed something wrong. The event sign-in mechanism finally came in handy. The event sign-in mechanism, immediately signing in after doing something special, would give a special reward. He hadn't used it much before. He didn't expect that this time, following the footprints of the level 8 mutated zombie, it would be activated. He focused and looked at the skill description. Dragon Shadow Step. The footwork left behind by the Wind Dragon Emperor when he walked in the human world and transformed into his human form. As fast as lightning. Using this footwork will leave an afterimage in the shape of a giant dragon, hence the name. When Immorse saw this, he was delighted. What he lacked really came. He was worried that his speed wouldn't be as fast as that level 8 strong mutated zombie, so he signed in the Dragon Shadow Step. At this moment, he only felt a wave of information in his mind. How to use the Dragon Shadow Step, all the techniques were poured into his brain. And in that instant he learned the Dragon Shadow Step. In the next moment his figure moved slightly. He instantly disappeared from where he stood. When he reappeared, he was already 1,000 meters away. 1 second, 1,000 meters. Looking back, he didn't even leave any footprints in the snow behind him. Dragon Shadow Step was not teleportation. However, his running speed was so fast that it looked like teleportation. When he used Dragon Shadow Steps to rush over, he was clearly stepping on the snow. But now there were no footprints. Traceless snow steps. Immorse couldn't help but think to himself, this Dragon Emperor is really strong. He looked at the place where he was standing before. A gigantic dragon-shaped phantom was left behind. Although the shadow was blurry, one could still make out its rough outline. This gigantic dragon-shaped phantom was 10 meters tall. From beginning to end, it was more than 20 meters long. When he spread his wings, they were actually more than 20 meters wide. Even though it was just an illusion, it seemed to be filled with a powerful pressure. Sure enough, anything that was related to the word dragon was basically related to awesome. Moreover, this Dragon Shadow Step consumed very little physical strength. Could be used for a long time. Immorse couldn't help but admire the Wind Dragon Emperor who created the Dragon Shadow Step. At this moment, after using Dragon Shadow Step to cross 3,000 meters, he had a better understanding of the Dragon Shadow Step in his mind. He understood that the Dragon Shadow Step he was using now was only at the entry level. There were still 3 levels after that. Small success, large success, and great perfection. This made Immorse look forward to it. The entry level was already 1,000 meters in 1 step. How strong would the great perfection be? Then he slowed down and walked slowly towards the village filled with corpse aura. After all, this was a place where corpse aura gathered. Naturally, he had to be careful. At the same time, in the center of the village, in the farmyard, the zombie with 3 claw marks had just returned. The mutated owl was also on a fence post in the yard and had just landed. At this moment, a zombie outside the door growled and said, "Leader, a human is coming towards the village." When the mutated owl heard this, its wings couldn't help but flap twice. It made a hoarse sound. The leader's heart also trembled slightly. That human was actually chasing after them like a ghost. As the leader of these zombies, he used to be the one who hunted those humans. When had he ever been chased by a human? It was simply a great humiliation. Thinking of this, he suddenly turned his head. The 3 claw marks on his face seemed to have blood oozing out. In his grayish-white eyes, anger burst out and he roared, "This human is too much. Send out all the strong mutated zombies." The zombie outside the door quickly lowered its head and roared, "Yes." The next moment, accompanied by the roar of the zombie outside the door, the originally quiet mountain village was suddenly filled with roars. More than 500 mutated zombies let out earth-shattering roars and rushed out of those houses. They ran straight towards Immorse at the entrance of the village. At the same time, the zombie with 3 claw marks turned around and headed towards the backyard. Outside the backyard there was originally a field. Before the outbreak of the zombie virus, the wheat, corn, soybeans and other crops that the villagers collected were all peeled, dried and bagged on this field. But now, on this field there was a huge blood pool with a diameter of 50 meters. Above the blood pool there seemed to be a thick layer of blood mist. A thick smell of blood spread out in all directions. The zombie with 3 claw marks with a plop jumped into the blood pool. In the blood pool the blood water began to bubble. Gradually, like boiling water, waves of blood began to surge. In the blood pool, dozens of finger-thick arms stretched out and climbed up the body of the zombie with 3 claw marks. Finally, the zombie with 3 claw marks was completely wrapped up. Like a blood dumpling. The zombie with 3 claw marks secretly roared in his heart, "Mere humans, a group of reptiles. With the support of the blood pool, you are just ants in front of me." At the same time, Immorse had already arrived outside the village. 500 strong mutated zombies with earth-shattering roars rushed out of the village. Immorse, however, had a smile on his face. If it was other people facing so many strong mutated zombies, they could only see death and despair. But what Immorse saw was evolution points. So many strong mutated zombies. It was enough to let his evolution points reach 10 million. Thinking of this, he moved his telekinesis slightly. 900 throwing knives instantly appeared in front of him. In the next moment, it turned into a black python more than 20 meters long. It flew towards these strong mutated zombies. In front of these strong mutated zombies, its head instantly expanded more than 10 times. The huge mouth also expanded more than 10 times. The huge mouth suddenly opened and swallowed more than 10 strong mutated zombies. Chapter 60. With Immorse's current strength, even level 8 strong mutated zombies would flee upon seeing him. Not to mention these strong mutated zombies that were only level 1 to 5. The flying knife giant python continued to devour these strong mutated zombies. These strong mutated zombies were also considered smart. They deliberately avoided the flying knife giant python's head. However, they seemed to have forgotten that this was a giant python formed by Immorse's flying knives. Not only could it devour its head, back, abdomen, tail, anywhere, could open a huge mouth at any time and devour the zombies. Although these 500 strong mutated zombies also had a speed of more than 100 meters per second. But compared to the flying knife giant python controlled by Immorse's telekinesis, it was much worse. In a short 5 minutes, these 500 strong mutated zombies were completely devoured by the flying knife giant python. At the same time, in Immorse's mind, the evolution points had already reached more than 10 million. The system's voice sounded frowny face. Evolution points have reached 10 million. The system can be upgraded. Do you want to upgrade immediately? Immorse was happy and said, "Upgrade." The system replied instantly, frowny face, "This upgrade requires 12 hours. Unable to sign in during the upgrade." Immorse was already familiar with these things, so he didn't pay attention to them. A trace of expectation rose in his heart. After the system upgrade, what kind of reward would he get? His gaze swept across the mountain village in the snow. The blood demon pupil appeared. The air above the mountain village was still shrouded in corpse aura. Obviously, there was still something strange in the village. At this moment, the ground suddenly shook. In the next moment, an earth-shattering roar suddenly burst forth. Roar. The snowflakes above the entire village were swept away by this roar. The poplar, apricot, and walnut trees in the village, the snow on top of them were slowly shaken off by this sound. In the center of the village, there was an ancient scholar tree. The branches of the ancient scholar tree were covered with snow. At this moment, under this sound, the ancient scholar tree seemed to be unable to bear the burden. Kacha 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 sounds continued to sound. The withered tree branches were all broken. The adobe house at the back of the village that had not been lived in for decades shook twice under this sound. It collapsed with a bang, smoke and dust flew, scattering the flying snow. In the next moment, beside the ancient scholar tree, a huge figure appeared. This gigantic figure was completely blood-red. He was more than 50 meters tall. The muscles on his body bulged like a mountain. The most terrifying thing about it was that it had 3 ferocious heads with exposed fangs. On its body there were 6 thick arms. 3 heads and 6 arms. Upon closer inspection, one could see that the extra 2 heads and 4 arms were all formed by blood-red arms. Not only that, its gigantic body was actually formed from blood-red arms. In other words, this was a giant formed from blood-red arms. Ordinary people would be scared to death with just one look, or at least wet their pants. Even Immorse furrowed his brows. There were more and more demons and monsters in the wilderness. Moreover, he could clearly feel that the giant formed by the arm was emitting a terrifying pressure like a mountain. This was a natural pressure formed by the strong against the weak. When other zombies faced Immorse, they could also feel this natural pressure. Immorse thought to himself. In terms of level, this big guy's level had probably reached level 10 strong mutated zombie. With his current strength, he had no chance of winning in front of a level 10 strong mutated zombie. That natural pressure actually caused him to have an impulse to submit to it. Obviously, this guy was far from what he could compete with. It seemed that he had to use his trump card. If that move didn't work, he would immediately use Dragon Shadow Steps to escape. At the same time, on the mountain in the distance, the 49 members of the rescue team had also appeared. When they heard the earth-shattering roar and looked towards the mountain village, each and every one of them was filled with shock. What did they see? A giant creature with 3 heads and 6 arms more than 50 meters tall. Even when they saw the 100-meter giant python before, they were not so shocked. After all, a 100-meter giant python was still within their scope of understanding. But what kind of monster was this thing with 3 heads and 6 arms? Moreover, even if they were 5 kilometers away, they could still feel a natural pressure. That terrifying pressure wasn't physical. It was a psychological deterrent. That strong pressure made them not dare to look directly at the monster. It even made them have an impulse to kneel down and surrender. Everyone's hearts were filled with terror. How powerful was this creature to make them have such an impulse to surrender? Facing such a powerful creature, could the mysterious strong man handle it? They had been very confident in the mysterious strong man before. But this time they were a little less confident. After all, even the mysterious strong man had never made them have the impulse to kneel down and surrender. Deputy Commander Gua, what should we do? Several hunters asked one after another. Guo Jitao's eyes were full of shock. After a while he turned his head back. He looked at Immorse, who was at the entrance of the village. At this time, Immorse was facing the terrifying creature with 3 heads and 6 arms. He was like a lonely and helpless child. Guo Jitao wanted to help Immorse, but after thinking about it for a while he realized that if they got close to the village, Immorse would definitely die. Not to mention other things, just the psychological pressure that was as heavy as Mount Tai could make all of them collapse. Only someone as powerful as the mysterious expert could stand so close to the monster without collapsing. Thinking of this, he said to everyone in a feminine voice, "A battle of this level is not something we can participate in. Just stay here and watch." Everyone was silent when they heard this. The appearance of the mysterious strong man made them feel very useless. Now, when the mysterious strong man was fighting, they could only watch from afar. Even watching from 5 kilometers away, he had to bear a great deal of psychological pressure. Could be imagined that they were thousands of miles away from the mysterious strong man. At this time in the mountain village, beside the huge ancient scholar tree with a diameter of more than 5 meters, the huge 3-headed 6-armed monster seemed to think that the ancient scholar tree was in the way. It waved one hand gently. Crack. The ancient scholar tree with a diameter of more than 5 meters was broken into several pieces like paper. The dead branches scattered in all directions. A few houses nearby were smashed and collapsed. The huge 3-headed 6-armed monster looked at the tiny human at the entrance of the village. It roared in its throat, "Lowly human, pitiful reptile, die." In the next moment, its 6 thick arms formed by tens of thousands of arms suddenly extended. In an instant they stretched out hundreds of meters and grabbed at Immorse. Dozens of tentacles stretched out from the tip of each of its arms, making threatening gestures as they pounced on Immorse. Chapter 61. The 50-meter-tall monster with 3 heads and 6 arms did not move towards Immorse. Instead, it stretched out 6 arms that looked like giant rafters. Those arms instantly extended hundreds of meters and attacked Immorse. On each arm there were more than 10 tentacles. Hundreds of tentacles pounced towards Immorse with bared fangs and brandished claws. Immorse could feel that the tentacles contained a mysterious and powerful power. With his current strength he could not withstand it at all. There was no time to think. His entire body was instantly covered by the mutated giant crocodile scales. At the same time, the blood on his right arm squirmed rapidly. His entire right arm turned into a pitch-black axe blade. The axe blade was more than 3 meters wide and looked extremely sharp. In the next moment, Immorse leaped lightly with the dragon shadow step. He instantly moved 1,000 meters to the left. He avoided those tentacles. In the air, the axe blade in his hand chopped down at the tentacles that were pouncing towards him. When he chopped down, all the strength in his body was condensed on the axe blade. The axe blade instantly lengthened and widened. It became incomparably huge. It was like a huge black wall that was hanging down from the sky. It chopped down with a loud bang. Immorse did not stop as he chopped down with the axe. The tip of his foot tapped lightly again. The dragon shadow step was used. His figure instantly retreated 1,000 meters. A 20-meter-tall, 30-meter-wide dragon-shaped afterimage was left in place. A moment later, this afterimage slowly disappeared. At the same time, he looked up again. He saw that the entire mountain village had long been divided into 2 by a 5-meter-wide, unfathomably deep ravine. And that huge monster with 3 heads and 6 arms had already been divided into 2 halves. It slowly fell to both sides. It did not even have time to scream. Behind it, the mountain that was hundreds of meters tall also had a huge crack that was 5 meters wide. From this side of the mountain, one could directly see the other side of the mountain. The break of the mountain was as smooth as a mirror. On the distant mountain. When the 49 people saw this scene, they were all tongue-tied. For a long time they could not say a word. The wind had stopped. Heavy snow rustled down. The sound of it falling to the ground could be heard clearly. After a full 2 minutes, someone finally broke the silence. Too strong. This exclamation pulled everyone back from their shock. The mountain-splitting axe is so terrifying. It's funny that I was worried about the mysterious expert just now. Everyone felt the same way. They were indeed worried about the mysterious expert just now. After all, even though they were 5 kilometers away, they still had the urge to kneel down and submit. From their point of view, this was a monster that was even stronger than the mysterious expert. Even if the mysterious expert was undefeated, he might not be able to win. At most, it would be a draw with the monster. But he never expected that. Instant kill. It was still a one-hit kill. In front of the mysterious powerhouse, there seemed to be nothing that could not be killed in one move. He was unbelievably strong. Unimaginably strong. Thinking of the huge axe that almost filled the entire world, they could only look up. This was especially true for the hunters. They knew that the huge axe earlier was the genetic weapon of the mysterious expert. They were all hunters and their genetic martial arts could extend over 100 meters. It swept through the zombies and mutant beasts within 100 meters. They already felt that they were strong enough. But now, compared to the mysterious expert's genetic martial art that could extend for several kilometers and split a mountain with a single chop, it was trash. Not only one person, but all the hunters' genetic martial arts were trash. Xiaodou looked at the mountain that was split open and the 5-meter-wide crack. After a while, she remembered a poem that she learned in elementary school. The gate of heaven is broken and the river opens. In front of the small mountain village that was split in half. Immorse was also shocked. He did not even pay attention to the system notification in his mind that he had received 10,000 evolution points. Originally, after he used his genetic martial art, he immediately used Dragon Shadow Step to retreat. He was worried that he would not be able to kill the monster with one chop. He did not expect that the genetic martial art would be so strong after using all his strength. That monster's strength had probably reached level 10, a strong mutant zombie. Although its aura was not stable, it seemed to have just entered level 10. But it was still not something he could deal with. In the end, the genetic martial art was so domineering after using all his strength. The axe split the monster in half, and even the mountain behind it was split in half. But after thinking about it, he understood. Right now he possessed the Titan Dragon gene. His genetic martial art was naturally much stronger than a normal hunter's. Normal hunters could only grow bone spikes on their arms and use them as hidden weapons to attack the enemy when they least expected it. But Immerse's arm could directly condense the Sky Splitter Dragon's spear. Could be seen how perverse the Titan Dragon gene was. It was so perverse that it could support him to kill a strong enemy that was level 5. However, although this genetic martial art was perverse, every time he used it at full strength he would use up more than half of his stamina. Now he felt that his legs were weak. He quickly retracted his genetic martial art. Then he used his telekinesis to investigate a radius of 1,400 meters to prevent other strong mutant zombies from sneak attacking. At the same time he was prepared to use Dragon Shadow Step to escape. Under his telekinesis investigation, he discovered that another zombie had crawled out from the monster's body that was split in half. There were 3 claw marks on the zombie's face. The skin on its mouth was torn off by the claw marks. It looked extremely ferocious. But at this moment the claw mark zombie had no strength left. Immerse guessed that it must have used some method to forcefully increase its strength, causing its body to be greatly exhausted. At this moment the claw mark zombie's legs had disappeared. Only 2 short blood stakes were left. It supported itself on the ground with both hands and crawled towards the ancient scholar tree with difficulty. It roared in a low voice, "Blood pool, blood pool." The blood pool was the foundation of mutant zombies and could allow them to quickly recover their strength. As long as it crawled to the blood pool, its body would be able to recover again. Then it would escape from this place and seek revenge on this human after becoming stronger. However, when it crawled to the side of the ancient scholar tree that had already been broken, a feeling of despair that covered the heavens and the earth instantly assaulted its heart. It saw that the blood pool had been split in half from the middle by the axe just now. The blood in the blood pool had long been drained dry. Those thin arms that were like blood vessels in the blood pool were also quickly retracting into the ground. The claw mark zombie's eyes were filled with despair. "No, no." Immerse saw this scene and lightly tapped his feet. He left behind a giant dragon's afterimage. His figure instantly appeared in front of the claw mark zombie. The claw mark zombie slowly turned around in despair. It lay on the ground on its back. Its grayish-white eyes turned and looked at Immerse with difficulty. In its desperate eyes there was also disbelief. He really couldn't believe that this human could be so strong. Now that he thought about it, he thought that after advancing to a level 8 strong mutant zombie he could crush this human. How ridiculous this idea was. But after a moment he calmed down. The despair in his grayish-white eyes had disappeared. He looked at Immerse and slowly shook his head. In his throat he began to laugh like a broken gong. "King will not let you go, Chi," before his voice died away. A bloodthirsty corpse chopping knife had already pierced through his forehead. Buzz buzz, the bloody hole in his forehead quickly melted and became bigger and bigger. Chapter 62. Immerse killed the claw mark variant zombie. In his mind, a notification sounded. Frowny face killed level 8 strong variant zombie. Evolution points plus 8,000. However, there was not the slightest ripple in his heart. His gaze fell on the blood pool that had been split into 2 halves. Blood pool again. Before this zombie died it mentioned the king again. It seemed that it must be a very strong existence. Facing this zombie he would need to use all of his strength to kill it in one hit. If he encountered that king, he was afraid that he would not have the slightest ability to fight back. Thinking of this, Immerse suddenly felt a sense of urgency in his heart. After returning to the base this time he must work hard to sign in. Immerse directly took out 10 bottles of recovery medicine from the system space. Gulp, 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 gulp. With his current physical strength under such a large consumption, a bottle of recovery medicine was not effective. After drinking 10 bottles at the same time he felt that his physical strength was quickly recovering. Then his footsteps were light. Every step was 1,000 meters. With every step, a black dragon shadow would be left behind. In just 5 steps he passed through 5,000 meters of snow. He came to the top of the mountain. At this time his physical strength had been completely recovered. Those people, seeing the mysterious strong man step 1,000 meters, were all secretly shocked. At the same time they looked at the dragon afterimage 1,000 meters away, and one by one they exclaimed, "This is dragon." When they saw the dragon's shadow slowly disappear, their gazes all gathered on Immerse. With every step he took he could summon the shadow of a giant dragon. They had never heard of it. Perhaps such a phenomenon could only happen in those novels that boasted about the heavens and the earth. But now this was reality. How could such a vision appear? This had long been far beyond their scope of understanding. However, facing the mysterious strong man, even if they had many doubts in their hearts, they did not dare to ask. Immerse glanced at everyone indifferently. He only said 3 words, "Let's go back." Then he walked forward along the highway. This time he did not use the dragon shadow step. He only slowly moved forward at a speed of 50 meters per second. When the people behind saw this, their hearts trembled. They hurriedly followed. Not long after they left behind the blood pool on the ground that was split open. The corpse of a mutated owl was slowly recovering. After a while the wounds on its body were completely healed. Then with a push he flew into the distance. Back on the highway, Immerse was still clearing the zombies with his throwing knives, just like when he came here. He was about 5 kilometers away from these people. When it was time to rest at night he waited for everyone to catch up. When the crowd saw that the mysterious expert was waiting for them, they were all overjoyed. He hurriedly walked over. However, they knew that the mysterious expert liked peace and quiet. Therefore they did not dare to get too close to Immerse. They maintained a distance of more than 50 meters. Guojutao ordered his men to find the most intact house in the nearby abandoned city. After cleaning the room twice he said carefully, "That's right. Powerhouse. The room has been cleaned. Please rest there." Immerse did not hold back. He had already saved these people 4 or 5 times. Although each time it was not specifically to save them, it was just a matter of convenience. But to these people it was still a life-saving grace. Therefore this special treatment was not excessive. When the crowd saw the mysterious expert enter the room to rest, they breathed a sigh of relief. The mysterious expert had saved them so many times, but he had never asked for anything from them. They had nothing to repay him with. This made them feel uneasy at all. Now that the mysterious expert could accept a little bit of their gratitude, it could be regarded as slightly alleviating their uneasiness. When Immerse was resting he took out the virtual sentry tower. With the virtual sentry tower, it covered a range of 5 kilometers. He did not have to worry about monsters appearing near him and not being able to predict in advance. The others naturally did not know and still sent 10 people to keep watch at night. The rest of the people sat in an abandoned school auditorium. Listening to the sound of snowflakes falling outside, they did not feel sleepy at all. They had too many questions in their hearts and wanted to ask the mysterious expert for advice. But the mysterious expert did not seem to want to be disturbed. Naturally, they did not dare to ask. After a long time, the cross-eyed Xiaodou spoke first. "I didn't expect that the mysterious expert was my former colleague at the corpse farm." Since Xiaodou left the corpse farm, he had been very afraid of mentioning the corpse farm. He always thought that it was a disgrace that he could not erase. If someone knew that a dignified corpse hunter actually walked out of the corpse farm, how embarrassing would that be? But now, after saying those words, there was actually a trace of pride in his shame. Sure enough, when the others heard this, they were all surprised. Corpse farm? The mysterious expert has been hiding in the corpse farm. No wonder we couldn't find him. You mean you used to be colleagues with the mysterious expert? Xiaodou nodded and said, "Yes, when he first came to the corpse farm, I was the one who took him to familiarize himself with the environment and work." Speaking of this, Xiaodou felt even more proud. That was the mysterious expert. Even if he could be the mysterious expert's follower, it would be a supreme honor. Not to mention that he used to be his colleague. Xiaodou continued, "I still remember when he first came to the corpse farm and introduced himself." Hearing this, everyone listened attentively. They were very interested in anything related to the mysterious expert. Xiaodou continued, "At that time he was wearing a white t-shirt and looked a little reserved. He said his name was..." "Xiaodou, shut up." A sharp shout suddenly interrupted Xiaodou. Everyone was startled. Xiaodou was also startled and looked at Guojutao. Guo Jutao said with a stern expression. The mysterious expert has been hiding in the base for more than a decade and didn't reveal his identity. Obviously he likes peace and doesn't want trouble. You revealed the information about the mysterious expert. Do you want everyone to disturb him after knowing that he is the mysterious expert? Hearing this, everyone was stunned. Xiaodo's heart skipped a beat. He quickly said, Deputy Commander Guo, that's not what I meant, Guo Jutao interrupted him once again. His gaze swept across everyone sternly as he coldly shouted, Don't worry. If we go back and reveal the identity of the mysterious expert, there will be a lot of people coming to the corpse farm. There will definitely be a lot of people rushing into the corpse farm, and the mysterious expert will be annoyed to no end. Since he likes peace and quiet, then all of you will have to keep this a secret. Don't mention the identity of the mysterious expert to anyone. Otherwise, if you offend the mysterious expert, you will bear the consequences yourself. Hearing this, everyone's heart skipped a beat. If they really pissed off the mysterious expert, it wouldn't be enough even if they died 10,000 times. Especially Xiaodo, whose heart was beating wildly. He almost said the name of the mysterious expert. He didn't dare to imagine what would happen if he really said it. At this time someone asked, If the base chief asks, Guo Jutao said sternly, Even if the base chief asks, you can't say anything. In the room far away, Immorse heard this and smiled faintly. This Guo Jutao was quite sensible. You're tuning in to the Zhou Xian's Legacy YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.